Good morning, everyone. How are we feeling today? How are all of you? How are all of you? Perfect, good. We all had a stupendous day one, so it's good to see all of you bright and early. We have a lot packed for you for the rest of the day. Let me officially welcome all of you to TiEcon 2024. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar, your host for the day. There's a lot of excitement, around this time every single year. We do know where all loads are finally leading to because Delhi-NCR is hosting its 23rd edition of its annual flagship conference, TiEcon 2024. And I'm extremely happy with the theme that we've decided for this year. The theme for this year is the New Bharat. Now, what does the New Bharat emphasize upon? What does it make New Bharat upon? It's bold, it's confident, it's far more inclusive. It also is more equitable, it's sustainable, globally more influential as far as the future or what the potential is. What is also interesting is that this is a new Bharat that talks about challenges, that talks about opportunities, but is also not fearful of looking at collaborations, partnerships, as well as solutions. As we said, we had a very successful day one yesterday, so it's good to see all of you and some very familiar faces who've come back for day two as well. We have lots lined up for you. Before I invite our co-chairs to really kickstart the proceedings, I would also like to thank our platinum partner, Maruti Suzuki Innovation, gold partner, Microsoft, and gold partner, Havas as well. I quickly also just want to take another minute because there is a very interesting opportunity for all of you. You are going to have once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You could have the opportunity to have a one-on-one, a 10-minute lifetime opportunity with one of our esteemed speakers on stage. So how do you get that opportunity? All you have to do is drop your visiting card outside. If you do get selected in the lucky draw, you could have all your questions answered, maybe ask for some help with one of our esteemed guests on stage. So all that's happening all through the day as well. You can keep tagging us. The hashtag is @TiEDelhi. We would love to hear from what all of you have to say. I wouldn't want to delay the proceedings. I would now like to invite on stage Geetika Dayal, the Executive Director of Delhi-NCR, as well as Ritesh Malik, the co-chair.
Thank you, Ridhima. Thank you. And I hope you all had a wonderful evening last night and welcome back. So we're ready to start the proceedings for day two and lots of content coming your way today. So try and absorb as much as possible. A warm welcome and a big thank you to our co-chairs, Ritesh Malik, Mona Gandhi and Bhanu Chopra. And to start the proceedings with their words of welcome, I invite Ritesh and Mona on stage.
Great. Good morning. Thank you very much, Gitika Upasna, for this lovely opportunity. Very grateful to Mona and Bhanu and to all of you for being a part of this amazing morning. We had an amazing day yesterday, and we're looking forward to have an amazing day today. So when it came to the new Bharat, all of us were talking to Geetika and Upasna, and we said, what do we name TiEcon 2024? And the answer was the new Bharat. And why do we say that? There's no country in the history of mankind that has leapfrogged the technological revolution that India has. In the past 8 years, we have added over 1.21 lakh startups, and these are just the startups listed under the DPIIT. In my opinion, the true number of startups is at least 3 to 4x of this. Bharat has truly leapfrogged with addition of $8 to $10 billion of annual capital deployed in the venture capital space. industries like retail, agriculture, fintech, enterprise is transportation, logistics, food, auto, travel, new energy, deep tech, edtech have been the focus for the past 1 decade. The interesting part is the next decade will all be about creating products from Bharat but for the world. We have travel tech companies like Ixigo. We have companies which are now listing. The true maturity of an ecosystem is its ability to be away from venture capital and to be on its own feet. And what we saw and what we are really proud of, Alok sir, is the fact that companies like Ixigo are becoming the torch bearer for the Indian startup dream, ensuring that our revenues are converting into profits, ensuring that our listed companies represent a large part eventually of the NSE sphere. Space tech as a sector has increased significantly. And in the next 1 decade, one of the largest opportunities will be private space missions in India. With 114 unicorns and 355 soonicorns, we will be one of the largest open democratic digital society in the world, generating 1 million jobs, and the government is to thank for. There's no country in the world that has leapfrogged in such a manner, and the reason is the digital highways created by the government of India, be it the UPI, contributing to 46% of digital payments happening all over the globe. We are just 16% of the world's population, but contributing to 46% of the digital payments. Missions like the Drone Shakti program, missions like Sunil, which is strengthening, upscaling, nurturing local innovations for livelihood. Missions like TIDE, which is technology incubation and development of entrepreneur. Missions like SIST, which is scheme for young scientists and technologists. Missions like science technology innovation hubs. These digital highways like Aadhaar, Digi Yatra, Digi Locker, FASTag, UPI will contribute to saving a lot of time and energy of the 1.41 billion people that India has. We have 80 crore internet users, the largest digital democracy in the world. We have the cheapest data, and usually cheap data does not come with good speeds. Our average speed is 93 Mbps on a mobile phone. 36.6% of our population lives in cities, and the next big opportunity is rural India. Tier 2 will be a large opportunity for founders to focus upon. And when it comes to innovation, before I hand it over to my co-chair, Mona, innovation will be at the forefront of whatever we do in India, from the new education policy to the fact that the DPIIT just cleared 1 lakh patents in the past 6 months. Patenting will be the easiest form of filing for any country in the world, and India will be at its forefeet. With all of this, we are very hopeful and very grateful for TiE, Gitika, Upasna, and the entire TiE team. We are as co-chairs, honestly, we have not done a lot, but the way Gitika and Upasna and the entire TiE team has worked for the past so many years to ensure that the ecosystem grows, I think that is something which is phenomenal, and very grateful for all your efforts, and to Alok sir for spending so much time and energy to ensure TiE impacts the last man standing and the last entrepreneur standing. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, good morning. Everyone that's standing out, can you guys please come in? There's a lot of people that are just hanging out outside. I just wanted to say good morning to everyone, and my name is Mona. I'm very, very lucky to be the co-chair, super fortunate. Gotten the opportunity to work with Ritesh, Bhanu, Gitika and Upasna, as well as Alok. Super excited to be here. As Ritesh said, this is a super exciting time to be in India. I was born and raised in Bombay, but I went to the US to do my master's. I was there in Silicon Valley. I worked, started my professional career there, was there between 2007 and 2015. And I can tell you the energy that I felt in the Bay Area is the same I feel today in India. And I'm super excited for what lies ahead. When Ritesh and I were discussing about everything that's going well for India, one thing I wanted to really touch upon was the one thing that I really wanted to touch upon was women inclusion. I know I'm a woman, I'm here, I'm not here to just push the agenda, but every single one of you guys here are change makers. You are going to grow the economy, you're going to be large contributors. But if we want to be at a per capita of $4,500 by 2031, there is no country in this universe who has done that without having significant participation of women in the labor workforce, right? And so uh, it is super critical that everybody thinks about it. And I wanted to take this forum as a place to highlight it because the change starts at home. Everybody thinks that women participation is a problem which is very large to tackle. You can't do anything. But you actually can. Just supporting the person in your house, the family member that you have, the niece, the nephew, the daughter, the wife, that's where it begins. And that's what you should really try to think deeply about. Without women participation, there's no way we are getting anywhere. It is at its lowest it's ever been. It's low single digits. I actually felt during COVID we were going to double up. That was going to be the opportunity for women to come back to workforce. It actually went in the reverse direction because women not only became, they had the responsibility of being the support system to more people at home than they were before. So my sincere request, if you guys leave today, there's a lot of interesting topics that we're going to discuss. But when you leave today, I would love for you to spend 10 minutes to think about how you can help that one person be inclusive in the workforce. There is no new Bharat without being inclusive with women. There's no new Bharat that can be confident and bold if only half of our population is that. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. Super excited to get the rest of the programming going. But thank you so much for coming. It's super early. It's 10 a.m. So really appreciate you guys coming here. Let's get started. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Ritesh. Perfect start for day 2. Let's get straight to our first session. What we're going to discuss over the next half hour is creative pools of capital. I would like to invite our panelists on stage. Mohit Dhawan, Senior Vice President, Investment Office, Hero Corporate Services. Nipun Goyal, Head Investment Banking, IIFL. Padmaja Ruparel, Co-Founder, IAN and Founding Partner, IAN Fund. Aditya Agarwal, Head Digital Enterprise, Maruti Suzuki India, and Vikram Gupta, Founder and Managing Partner, Ivy Cap Ventures, who will also be chairing this session. Could we have all the distinguished guests on stage, and could we have a huge round of applause, please?
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think, should we? Okay. I'm fine with that. I think people know who we are, so it's fine. Okay, so thank you so much for this session. I think this is a topic which is very, very close to my heart. And I think we are all talking about building domestic capital and very creative pools of capital in India specifically. And here we have very, very diverse and very, very credible and amazing set of people sitting here who actually bring along with them experience from different fields. And what I'm going to do, before I start the session, I'll ask each one of them to briefly introduce themselves and talk about what kind of capital they're managing and what's their experience with respect to investments. We can start from here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and delighted to be here. I'm Nipun Goyal. I look after the investment banking practice for IIFL. Over the last few years, I think, of course, we have managed over 50 IPOs, but just to talk subject which is more relevant, we have handled IPOs as diverse as Yatra, to Traction, which was probably the youngest company, when we, took it public, to companies as large as Policy Bazaar. Of course, along the way, we also listed Nazara, RateGain, Zaggle, and a bunch of other companies. Clearly, the public market ecosystem in India has evolved dramatically. Over the next 18 to 24 months, I expect at least 24 listings from New Age. The market is as robust as it gets. The appetite is humongous. So I think so long as companies have the right matrices, I think it is as good a time as it gets to be able to list. Maybe we'll talk more as we go through the process.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Aditya Agarwal. I represent Maruti Suzuki. I lead digital transformation in Maruti. So you must be wondering, what am I doing here, sitting with all these people? As part of our responsibility, we also look at getting the startups, bring the new technology into our way of working. And how do we do that? We have a open innovation. We manage open innovation through one of our centers of excellence, where we run a corporate accelerator, we run an incubation program, we run a pre-incubation program, pretty much everything for engaging startups and bringing business, improving their business capability, and also growing them, bringing them up to scale at Maruti Suzuki. We also manage CVC, so we have a fund. We also invest in startups. This program now is about 5 years old, and we're doing pretty good. We've actually, almost 20 startups have started working with us so far. And on the revenue side, we are on the upside of about 100 crores with them. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mohit Dhawan. I represent Hero Enterprise. I manage the investment business for Hero. We invest across asset classes, starting from growth stage, venture capital, private equity, public equities. We run a book of core assets, high quality debt paper. We also run a book of structured credit. Historically, we used to invest in funds, but now we mostly are a direct investor. Our preference is to invest in consumer tech, healthcare, health tech, financial services, fintech, and technology-enabled logistics or manufacturing businesses. We are an early investor in Nykaa, Oyo, Farmeasy, Bluestone, Agrostar, Emarticus Learning, a bunch of these new age companies that appear in most people's phones these days. Yeah, looking forward to an interesting conversation with all of you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Before I say anything, I do want to take this opportunity to actually really congratulate the TiE board, Geetika, the TiE team, and the co-chairs of TiEcon. Really a rocking event. So congrats and take a bow. It's not that I needed to congratulate, because they do this every year and make, create problems for themselves just raising the bar. So anyway, good for you guys. I'm Padmaja Ruparal. I'm a co-founder of IAN. We started our journey way back in 2006, 18 years. We've been investing in seed and early stage companies. We started with angel investing, in fact, brought in the concept of angel investing. And we now have a horizontal platform for early stage startups to raise money with a VC fund. We are raising our next VC fund, which is a 1,000 crore fund. And I think globally we've innovated on one particular point. While we created India's first sector-focused angel group, we are the only ones who partnered with the government. That's what I understand. So we've been innovating ourselves as we go along. We've invested in about 225 companies across sectors. We've invested, without our new fund being taken into consideration, we've invested about 900 crores directly. But interestingly, our companies have gone on to raise another 18,000 plus crores. So I think that's a huge endorsement of what we've done. Our companies are now valued at a market valuation is close to 10 billion. So that's what we've been doing. several unicorns, though I think saying unicorn is redundant today. But I think very valuable companies. We have a couple of them going, preparing for IPO. As I was telling Mohit and Nipun earlier, they've been threatening to go IPO, so I will see some of those. But I think the real interesting thing that has made IAN something special is we've been able to bring industry leaders onto the platform, have them engaged, grab their time to help entrepreneurs. And I think that quality of money that we bring in is very interesting. So we have people, my co-founder here, Alok, who's the president of TiE, has been spending time with not only entrepreneurs, but with us as well. We've got people like Mr. Sunil Munjal, Chris, Mr. Saurabh Srivastav, Raman, all these guys we've been able to grab their time. And I think that's what's helped our companies to really move the cheese. And finally, before I hand it over to Vikram, I think what makes it tick for me is that we've been able to build the ecosystem or help build the ecosystem, be it with policymakers, be it internationally. I think we are enjoying ourselves.
No, absolutely. We've all seen this entire ecosystem evolve, and I know, Alok, when you started your first startup, there were hardly any startups at that time, right? So we've come a long way from that time, and obviously the entire ecosystem has matured a lot over time. What I'm going to do, and I think the interesting part of this panel is that all five of us actually bring very different type of pool of capital to the table. And therefore, maybe we'll have our own way of evaluating investment opportunities, right? So I'm going to give 1 minute to each of you to basically, pitch to your target investments or entrepreneurs that you would want to invest in terms of why they should take your money. So what is the investment thesis you have, and why these entrepreneurs should come to you and take your capital?
Thanks, Vikram. I think it's a tricky one. You put me in the spot, I being sitting next to you. I think a couple of things. I think first is, if you are someone who's looking to exit the business lock, stock and barrel, I would say IPO market is not for you. So I'm again talking against my own interests. Selling a listed business, getting out lock, stock and barrel in a listed business is always trickier than selling an unlisted business. Having said that, I think if you're looking at building something for the long run, I think public market, the kind of flexibility, profile, brand building that it offers you is unparalleled, so to say. As I tell most of my clients, the day you take private equity or venture capital, I think the die is cast. You have decided to go public. It's just a question of timing. And once the company attains a certain critical mass, I think there's no better option than going public, for the simple reason, the kind of profile, brand building, corporate governance, that a public listing entails is frankly far superior to what you get in a private format. More importantly, the ease of financing that a company gets, once you are listed, is significantly superior to what you have in a private format. Case in point being RateGain, a company which I don't see Bhanu over here. It's a company that we took public in December of 2021. And about 3 months ago, when the company was looking at some acquisitions, we were able to raise financing at a very short notice. In 5 weeks flat, we were able to raise 600 crores. So the point is, if yours is a business where profile, branding, ability to raise follow-on financing is important, which I suspect is the case with most of your businesses, if you have crossed that hump of having attained a critical mass and on the path to profitability, it is definitely a very interesting option. I think the kind of valuations that increasingly investors are willing to accord to businesses which are profitable and growing at industry-leading growth rates is far superior in most cases to what you are able to get in a private format. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll bring a different perspective to this. So you have the money, you can get capital today, you can get funds, but how do you scale your business? Is funds the only thing that you're looking at, or are you also looking at how do I run my revenue stream? How do I ensure that I grow? So we bring you an opportunity which will help you right from the seed stage to going up to a full-scale business. We work with you. We have a program. We have a lot of programs actually, starting with pre-incubation, incubation, accelerator, and we also run a mobility challenge, which is for mature startups, where we help these startups to scale up. And just to give an example, startups who were started working with us about 3 years back, some of whom are sitting in this room, I think their valuation has gone up 10x, not because they got money, but because they had healthy businesses running, and the whole revenue pipeline was very well built. They had an order book which will last them for maybe next 2-3 years. So I think while of course getting money is very, very important for startups, please look at business continuity planning as well. Look at it that how do I manage my business so that my balance sheets remain strong. People are willing to look at me, people are willing to invest in me, and then I have a choice whether I take that investment or not. Can I do it from the strength of my balance sheet? Can I do it on the basis of how strong my business is? So we help you, we provide you the best of the mentorship, we provide you with the best of, I think, the best brains with the largest test bed in the country. You can actually do POCs with us. Of course, these POCs, we pay the full cost, we bear the full cost. And if it is successful, you become partners with us for life. And I think few of our oldest partners who have been working with us are now 40 years old as the company itself. So I think that's what we bring to the table.
What, as I said earlier, we invest across asset classes. Therefore, it's not just equity, it's various modes of being able to finance the company is what is available with us. But before I get there, like I said earlier, we've invested in a lot of what Padmaja referred to as unicorns of today, and most of the companies that sit on, consumer companies that sit on most people's phones, we would be early investors. So that comes with a lot of experience of having lived multiple of these early stage to unicorn journeys, which we can help to bear for our companies. That's one. Secondly, we also have our own operating partners within our team. These are people who are experts in, let's say somebody's an expert on digital marketing, somebody else is expert on distribution, another person is an expert on human resources. So once a lot of these growth stage companies need help at various points of time of these industry experts. These are people who've held CXO level positions in large companies. So for the companies to be able to benefit from their experience, that's a valuable input. And wherever we can open doors, like any fund for that matter, happy to do those as well. We've got our network of experts as well as vendors, service providers, etc. Obviously, we can bring those to bear for our companies. But thirdly, I want to say what partnering, partly what Aditya touched upon, partnering with some of these large corporates. I always say this groups like ours have been in business for 60, 70 years. And that comes, and currently also operating multiple businesses. That gives you a lot of hands-on experience of having run a business and the challenges that come with running an operating business. So and I always think founder is more often than not the most lonely person in the company. Who does a founder go and talk to? Okay, when you get into various situations, when you need advice from somebody, you want to get those advice from people who are currently incurring those kind of problems or have incurred those problems in the past and have solved those problems. So that's a very big advantage of having partnered with a group like ours that has operating businesses and has had operating businesses for 50, 60, 70 years to be able to leverage the operating expertise of a group like ours. That I think is a valuable input for a founder. That be me.
So the belief that we have at IEN is very simple, that building a business or starting up is not just starting up. I think you need partners. And the two most important resources for any startup to get going or for any business to keep going is talent and money. Those are the two. So let me try and elaborate what we look for in a founder or a company in which we would even start exploring an investment. So what we look for is a proposition which is innovative or disruptive, solving a real problem. You know, real problems could be water, sanitation, agri, space, whatever, any sector. But it has to be solving a real problem. Second, is it really impacting a large number of people? AKA, which is your customer base. Is it a large market? Third, is the business model with a growing top line, but is it also profitable or at least on a path to profitability? We are very, very old-fashioned. We don't have the ability to figure out the model that you only grow the top line and we see the bottom line going the other way. We just don't understand that. It's our inability to understand. Fourth, is there any tech? Because if you have to scale and reach that customer base, we need technology to get there. Otherwise, you can't make it. At least that's what our belief is. Because we only invest in low capex, we don't invest in high capex businesses. And finally, for us, the most important are the founders who are standing on the ground, right? How well do they understand the problem? How well do they understand the customer? How are they really going to solve that customer's problem with whatever product or solution they have, if they have to tweak it? How are they going to deliver it? Are they leaders who can build a team? Because they can't do it on themselves. Unfortunately, God hasn't given that ability to anybody to be all-pervasive. Are they going to be able to do this business irrespective of my money, right? And pardon my use of the word, but are they really kick-ass? Are they going to really drive this with passion? Do they really want to do this? So that's what we are looking for. It could be any sector. It should be these are the things that we even start looking at when we look at a company. Now that's nice. As I said, it's a partnership. So what do we bring to the table? I think we have a group of people, about 500-600 people, who are really first generation, second generation entrepreneurs who've done garage to IPO kind of businesses. They're people who've innovated internally within corporates and outside. I just mentioned a few names earlier, but these are all people who want to engage. So to be able to bring that domain expertise, to be able to bring their networks in, to be able to bring what Mohit referred to in their operational guidance, etc., I think that's number one that we bring. Second, I think we've been able to actually, for our companies, specific companies, change policies. I'll give you an example. A company was in pollution reduction. We could change the policy for the nation through NGT. NGT is the National Green Tribunal, right? And similarly, we've done other things. We go down to the level of helping you set up your inventory, your receivables, your collections, all of that, right? We've helped our companies get CXOs. Without a good salesperson or without a good finance person, it doesn't work. So we've tried to bring in help get talent at key positions. Open customer base with 500-600, and we consider IN to be in the center of the ecosystem, so we've been able to leverage all of that. And finally, I think what we do want to do with all our companies, and we do want our companies to be open to it, that, you know, just as a child, we want to inculcate the discipline of governance, inculcate the discipline of building a valuable company with strong foundations. So we want to invest that time. So if you're an entrepreneur who just wants a check and wants us to be quiet, I think that's not the kind of investor we are. We don't want to interfere, but we do want to add value to what you're doing. So that's what we do.
Great, thank you. One thing which I'm trying to understand is how do we encourage more domestic pools of capital to come forward and invest in Indian entrepreneurs. And I think together here on the stage, I think we have probably a few $1 billion of capital that we manage as a group here. Of course, it's more skewed towards people sitting here. So, but I think, there is a lot of capital which is unlocked. We're talking about, the pension funds. We're talking about new things which, I was involved in setting up IIT Delhi Endowment Fund. There's endowments which are actually now coming up. And there are various other pockets of capital, which is actually sitting there unlocked. And I think even in the areas that we are working, so at Ivy Cap, we are managing about $550 million. And I think obviously that's entirely focused towards the startups. I know that you guys are, sitting on multi-billion dollars of capital, across the different investment areas. Same thing with you. I think Maruti has been obviously focused on investing across different, and CVC has been a new trend over the last few years, and I think that's emerging as a new investor class. So I think I would like to, hear your views on how do we unlock these pools of capital to really create a larger proportion of Indian capital in the startup ecosystem. Today we have maybe around 15%. The large portion of the capital is dollar capital. So how do we bring more domestic capital to the ecosystem?
Sure, maybe I could start, and especially giving a public market perspective over here. So I'm sure most of you are, reading about the SIP flows, that we are witnessing in the mutual funds. So month of February saw an SIP flow of about 18,000 crore in equity funds. Calendar year 2023, we had an inflow of $22 billion in equity mutual funds. So I think the quantum of retail money, domestic retail money, channelizing into capital markets is humongous. And I think we are beginning to see signs of that already reflecting in funding, some of these new age businesses. So I mentioned about a bunch of these IPOs that we did in new age businesses. For a company as small as Traction, which was a 46 crore revenue when we filed the DRHP. If you look at the anchor book is, something which is made public, prior to launch of the IPO. And you will see the kind of names that are part, all the top mutual funds and a number of domestic AIFs have been regularly participating. In fact, if you look at any of the anchor books of any of the medium to large sized issues, they are increasingly more and more dominated by domestic MFs. Given the kind of flows that some of these mutual funds are seeing, given the number of AIFs which have kind of, come about in India, some of them have become fairly large. There's a desire to put capital to work in high growth stories. And so long as some of these companies, in the new age have crossed that hump of profitability. Look, public markets focus on profitability. Public markets also don't like surprises. They don't want yo-yos in your quarterly performances once you list and so on and so forth. But once you have done that, I think the appetite amongst domestics to fund is phenomenal. Just to share with you a few data points, last year we did a block in a large IT services company. It was a sell down for a private equity fund, close to $1 billion block. The single largest order in that book that we had was a 3,000 crore order from one of the top 5 domestic MFs. About 3 months ago, we did a block in a large pharma company. It was a close to 6,000 crore block. The single largest order in that book was a 2,000 crore order from one of the top 5 domestic MFs. If you were to rewind 10 years ago, we could not look at doing any meaningful transaction without having large FI participation. But domestic, to my mind, is huge. The other pool, which has become quite prominent, is the large family offices. Mohit, of course, is there, and he can talk more about that. But I can tell you in India, there are at least 50 odd large family offices who can write checks anywhere in the range of $10 million to $100 million individually. So to my mind, that pool is emerging. And look, success valid, if you see investors making more money in some of the stories that are being brought into the market, that kind of gets them to invest more and more. So to my mind, I think we have made some promising, I would say, early signs, so to say. And I think this pool of capital could enhance significantly as we move forward.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll again bring a slightly different perspective because my job is not funding. My job is to ensure that your businesses run successfully and they run in a manner that you are able to attract capital in the best possible manner. So please, I would just talk about few of these startups that we work with and how they have been able to scale up their valuation so that they are able to attract really great valuations. So as I said earlier, about 6 startups that worked with us, they have been within a period of 1 year, the valuation has gone up almost 10x. And if you look at 10 crores, so they are in the range of now about 100 crores, which means that they are able to attract that kind of capital. So where's the funding winter? And people are getting money. I think across table we are hearing about this, that availability is not the issue. The issue is, are we ready? Are we ready to attract that kind of capital? Are we ready for the investors to look at us in a manner that they see our businesses are scalable, they see our businesses running smoothly, having governance, having the right approach, the right people? Are we in the right frame of reference when investors look at us? So I think that becomes very, very important. And I am part of another ecosystem, which is the CVC, which is the Corporate Venture Capital Fund. And some of us are getting into now AIFs, where we see, maybe very shortly you'll see that few companies, like-minded companies, getting together and creating that pool at a much larger scale than what we've been seeing earlier. So that startups keep, getting funding, they keep getting money, and they keep growing. It's a great place to be in. We are in a very, very healthy times, especially in India. And I think with the maturity that we are seeing among the startups now, it is time that we really scale up and probably become one of the largest startup ecosystem in the world. Yeah.
Look, my view on this is relatively straightforward. When investors start to see money being made, more capital chases that economy, be it Indian capital, global capital. As far as opening more avenues for domestic capital is concerned, once the investors that had invested in companies over the last 5, 7, 8 years, they start to see a full cycle get complete. There's a lot more confidence in the overall ecosystem. Everybody sitting here believes that the next 7, 8, 10 years of the country are glorious. We're looking at a $10 trillion economy that's adding more than another India into an India, right? So, but once the investors start to see the full cycle get completed, you will start to see more and more capital come along the way. And as Nipun rightly mentioned, a lot of these family offices are coming up. And we all have seen funds scale up in the country. But I think the next 5, 7, 8, 10 years, you will see a lot of these family offices also scale up. Again, I will say these are people who are first, second generation entrepreneurs of this country that have built businesses and have a very, very good understanding of what makes for a strong team, what makes for a strong business model, and what it takes to be able to build that business in the future. So you will see more of that come along. And as long as there are good, interesting business models that have good corporate governance, good teams in the play, you will see global capital come along the way and give exit to some of these investors, and the domestic capital start to fund companies at an earlier stage. So that cycle will rotate a few more times. It'll attract. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense that you will attract more and more capital. So it's a relatively simple, straightforward thought process from my perspective.
So let me focus it from a different perspective, Vikram. I think, first of all, there couldn't be a better time to start up, honestly. I think India is currently geopolitically well positioned. The economy is doing reasonably well compared to many other economies. We have corporates sitting here, we have somebody talking about public markets, we have family offices. I think you couldn't have done such a panel about 2 years ago. So I think my co-panelists actually represent what is happening in Bharat in some ways, right? So I think that is a first sign of encouragement. If you look at it from government perspective, Vikram, you look at the kind of money that is being put in. There's the incubator fund of about 1,000 crores that the government has already started to deploy. There is the DST, TDB money, the Department of Science Technology, the Nidhi Prayas kind of incubation, the Technology Development Board money, BIRAC money. All of this is available now to entrepreneurs. I think BIRAC has done a phenomenal job, from 50 lakhs to about 5 crores that they give. Now they have a fund of funds. That's number one. Number two is the fact that we have, from the government side, several fund of funds. Not only the one which SIDBI is managing, India's fund of funds, which was 10,000 crores. Yesterday, the chairman announced 56,000 crores, right? We have 10,000 crores coming in for semiconductor, 1 lakh crores. I think look at the kind of funding that is coming from the government. It's not a question that that's the only money. It's a catalytic money. On that basis, there is a whole lot more that will get multiplier effect, right? So 10,000 crores has already created 80,000 crores. So that's the kind of catalytic effect that there is money there. Second thing. Third thing that I think which is very important is nobody talks about it, but there's already money coming out of PSUs, right? The public sector units are investing small amounts of money. If you look at the balance sheets, you'll have 40, 50 companies sitting there, small amounts. And that is, again, a new pool of capital which we did not see earlier. So I think the Honorable Prime Minister's focus on Startup India, all of this has started to unleash. And there are the state governments itself that are also to have fund of funds, they have grants. So there is that money. So on the government side, there's money. Now let's come to the angel side, right? I mean, when we started, we were struggling to get angels. 2006, I had a problem selling the concept of angel investing. I had ridiculous and funny incidents. Today, I think it's the reverse. There are individuals who want to become angels, they want to invest. I mean, what better evolution of that ecosystem to happen? I mean, it makes me really, really happy to see that. So there is a whole lot of angels who are not necessarily only from people who've been entrepreneurs, but people who've been corporate honchos, who've been family businesses, etc. So there is that money that's coming. Second pot of money is family offices, which Mohit explained better, so I'll not go there. But it's a very nascent network right now that is investing. I think India has huge wealth sitting there, which can get unleashed. And I think there is clearly a push that somebody needs to do to unleash that money. So that's family office money, and they bring in all the expertise that Mohit explained earlier, which is also very important. Then you come to the AIFs. 5, 6 years ago, we had less than 150 AIFs, especially in the VC scenario. Today, we are more than 1,000. I mean, you and I have these statistics on the IVC board all the time, right? That we are growing, right? We have micro VCs, we have angel funds, we have category 1, category 2. I mean, look at the amount of money, look at the kind of dry powder sitting in the country. So AIFs have also raised money increasingly from domestic sources. There was a time when 15% or 10% to 15% of money was being raised domestically, balanced overseas. That is flipping very, very rapidly. I think the piece that needs a lot of push here is what you mentioned, Vikram, earlier, that pension funds, insurance, that money needs to be unleashed. I think there is a push. There are regulatory issues. We're all sort of struggling with that. But somehow we need to get over that, and that will bring much more money. And finally, I think there's corporates and banks. Again, they have their little hurdles that they're still trying to figure out, but that is huge money. So all in all, if you see, every segment of wealth that you see in the country is moving towards investing in startups, right? And to my mind, if you do not have domestic capital, you will not have a startup, right? Because you cannot have 2, 3 guys starting up literally with no revenues or very little revenues to expect money from Timbuktu. It's never going to happen. Remote investors don't know what is in India, what are the real challenges on the ground, what is the, how are they even going to mentor and monitor? So I think if we want to be a startup ecosystem, domestic money has to be unleashed. Everything around it which is constraining it within governance frameworks needs to be sorted, right? Because without that, it will not happen. And if we think that Indian economy is going to have a huge contribution of at least 5 to 6% in 5 trillion economy, which is going to be contributed by startups, that's not going to happen without this domestic money. The good side is, I think we've already seen a movement towards that, but there's a lot more to be done. Second piece that I just want to finish, I think for entrepreneurs out there, please look at different pools of capital, but different structures of capital also. You don't have to always dilute. If you are raising money, you are diluting, that's equity money. look at debt money. There is debt available. I mean, we, in our ecosystem, in our portfolio companies, we have several companies who have raised money from leading banks because of the quality of equity investors. They've leveraged our brand, they've leveraged our connects, etc. Look at revenue-based financing. Look at advances from customers. Customers are the best guys to give you money, right? So if you're selling to Maruti, ask for Maruti for advances. Sorry, Aditya, but I'm putting you on the spot. So look at advances. Look at extending your payouts, right? Creditors. So I think you have to look at money not only in terms of what you raise, but also how you can manage your cash flow, which gives you a longer runway. That, to my mind, is what is funding for the business. I'll stop here.
I know we've run out of time, but I'll probably just last question with just 30 seconds each. And it's a very important topic. I know it can go on and on if we actually extend the time. But I just want to take just 30 seconds each on the corporate governance part. I think there has been a serious concern, especially in the last couple of years, especially with examples like Byju's, Go Mechanic, a few others. I think if you can just give your perspective of how do you see this going forward? Are you seeing maturity levels improving, corporate governance improving? What are you doing as investors to make sure that there are better corporate governance standards?
I think it's an extremely important aspect. Public markets in particular can be very, very, I would say, punishing as well as rewarding, on the governance aspect. Whether a company should trade at a 10 P, 20 P, 40 P, 60 P, beyond a point, to be honest, there is no science to it. It is entirely a perspective, investor perspective on growth and governance. And companies which are able to inspire confidence on both, investors are willing to accord disproportionate valuations to such companies. I'll just probably just overshoot this thing. I'm just reminded of one company, not necessarily tech-based. We did IPO for this company, Dixon Technology, in August 2017. The IPO valuation was 1940 crore. The company raised primary amount of 60 crore. Rest was OFS. 6.5 years later, the 2,000 crore market cap has become 40,000 crore. The stock, what was offered at a 25 PE, trades at 75 PE, and investors are super bullish on that company. The company has not diluted a single rupee ever since listing. So see the kind of value creation it has done for all stakeholders. The first 4 quarters post-listing are extremely important for any company, but that is where investors kind of, form a view on the company in terms of what is it that the company promised when they were debuting through the IPO versus how their delivery is. And that kind of sets the tone, for future.
Yeah, I think very important topic because today, not only for startups, but for any company at large, governance is becoming, the buzzword. And it's not that we were not into corporate governance earlier, but now because the way the businesses are shaping up, the speed at which businesses are growing, I think this becomes very, very relevant. That how do we take this forward? So I think companies we invest in, we sit on the board, we sit as listeners, we sit as observers, maybe as also one of the board members, understanding what they're doing, quarterly reviews with them, to see which way they are moving ahead. Is everything that is happening in an ethical manner? Are they, are they taking any shortcuts? And then advising them how they should be charting the course of their business so that, this growth story continues in a way that it looks more like maths and art rather than, any other way it could be. So I think very importantly today, governance is what should get ingrained into business at a very, very early stage. And once this happens, I think then from growth is just a number.
So for us, corporate governance, I think I'll be redundant if I said it is important, but for a startup, especially in growth stage startups, once it gets to a listed stage, it's a different story altogether. But startups, either it's a very binary story. Most of the investors here know that they will not touch a company that had a minor iota of issue on the corporate governance side. So if you've got good quality corporate governance, there is value, otherwise the value is zero, right? So as we've seen in some of the companies that Vikram was talking about. And for us to be able to distill corporate governance, look, we don't want to be preachy to our companies and say corporate governance is important. For us, corporate governance has been what we do in our businesses and what our DNA has been, our fabric of our being has been. And that's the fabric that we share with our companies, be it having a board meeting, sending a notice for an AGM, EGM on time, ensuring that all your filings are done in a timely manner. Without that, there is no company. For a startup, it's not, I don't think it's optional. It is a binary thing. If you have corporate governance, you're alive. Without corporate governance, you are not there. So I think saying that it is important for a startup is a little bit redundant.
So I think, Mohit has covered a lot of points, but I don't think governance is important for startups only. I think governance is important for every organization. And, my belief is if we as investors are not well governed, we are never going to be able to even figure out what's not working in a startup. So I think the first thing is, I think there's a huge onus, especially when we are investing in startups, on investors themselves. Because startups, two young guys, 25-year-olds, they don't even understand governance. They don't know what is to be done. And we have to first recognize that. It's for investors to inculcate that discipline, that focus, that culture of governance, right? And I must say, I've learned from our investors, our mentors. I mean, we have Mr. Munjal on our advisory board. He doesn't start the meeting till I put a paper on the desk to say, we and our portfolio companies are compliant. He doesn't start the meeting, right? And that is not to say he's strict. It's part of the course, right? The same thing we do with our portfolio companies. I don't start a board meeting till I get that note, number one. Number two, I think governance is not only what we do in terms of board meetings. Auditors are very important. Getting the right statutory internal auditors are very, very important. And those auditors need to report to the board, not to the CEO. That's the governance, right? Things like getting your cash flow sorted, and as a CEO, you should know it on a daily basis. You should get up with a screenshot of your cash flow and your receivables, right? And your creditors. Unless you have that, you're not going to be able to run a good show, right? There should be no shortcuts. I mean, the question I think there's a lot of onus on investors investing in young startups to make these questions a kind of a discipline and get them to work towards that. And finally, I think the piece that very few people talk about, I want to bring out, is when startups are hiring key people, I think getting them ref-checked, getting their KYCs is very important, because it's the people who make the company. What is a company? It comprises of people. So I think it's not just governance from the statutory or the compliance perspective. I think it's much, much wider. How you behave with customers, how you behave with team members, all of that comprises of governance.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Padmaja, and all of you. As you rightly said, Padmaja, maybe 2 years ago, we may not have been able to put together a panel like this. And I think it's a really great discussion. And thank you so much for all your time. Thanks to everyone sitting here for your time, for listening to us. So we are available outside as well. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all our guests. I'll just request all of you to stay on stage with us for a photo opportunity, also for a small token to be presented to all of you.